Hey, I wanted to talk about some stuff that's really damaging America, and it has been for some time. And I know, doing my comedy and then with my questionable social life and being a sinner, it's difficult for some people to listen to me, as a minister. But I'll tell you, all ministers are sinners, all humans are. I try not to live a complete lifestyle of sin, but regardless, if I'm speaking something that is biblical, correct, truth, then if you reject me based on my sin, then you're rejecting truth regardless. But if I'm speaking something that's not true, by all means reject me, and then the blood's on my hands because I'm trying to teach you something or discuss something with you that wasn't biblical anyway, so I'm being a false prophet. That being said, what I'm noticing destroying America is the complete deterioration of the family unit, and it's multifactorial. But basically, we're seeing over time, even in the Great Depression, right? Men would go out and break their backs, and then women had to start going out and doing it too. But poverty kind of feeds into this thing where the men and the women were away from the home, and that became more and more prevalent even today, where children don't have their parents around. And now we're seeing divorce rates that are just climbing like crazy. And then we're normalizing homosexuality and transgendered and cross-dressing, whatever else. The family is just deteriorated, and then the dollar is basically worthless at this point. And for me, I know, although I have qualifications because of my criminal record, I'm unable to use them to get decent jobs anymore. So for me as a single person working at the kind of job I can get right now, it's impossible to provide for a whole family, even for a couple. So then the spouse has to work as well. So I have no children myself. I'm about 40, I'm 39 years old. No kids. Can barely afford to live. It's paycheck to paycheck. And now think about all those things. Why is this important that, children have no guidance? So we're seeing all this crazy stuff go off, and you wonder, what's happened? Are people just getting worse? I think they just aren't being discipled, and our country was founded on supposedly fairly Christian morals, right? But we've pretty much eliminated that because we want to be a country of equality, so we want to be able to include atheists, Satanists, anybody, right? Which is fair. We need to love them. They need to have human rights, absolutely. But without that moral fabric, morality becomes very subjective. And with subjective morality, anything goes, right? Who's to say I'm wrong? And we need some sort of objectivity. And I think the Holy Bible provides a great basis. People would say it's discriminatory, right? Because it doesn't include atheists or whatever. But it does. It tells us to love them. It just also tells us to mention that, hey, you might want to believe that God's there, and so on. But with that, there's no discipleship. So your children aren't, if they don't have parents around, especially fathers, fathers are very absent of homes. They aren't discipled, and they aren't taught, and then we expect public schools to do it, but they're overwhelmed. Their policies are shoddy. I'm sure that there are so many teachers that care, but there's only so much you can do. And then they have, when they're getting passed around, I know for myself, every household I went to had slightly different rules. And I heard all these family members talking about other family members behind their backs at different households, and it leads you to be a bit paranoid. You don't trust anyone. You don't know what truth is. And I think that the erosion of the family unit is ultimately leading to this crazy spiral that we're in. It's a moral spiral. So Look, I think the liberal agenda socially, like for equality, is great. I think shoving down my throat minority sexual preferences and things like that, I would say sexual deviance, I would even call it a paraphilia. Somebody who, they deserve rights as human beings, but when you have a whole month of like Pride Month and they're shoving that on me, like culturally. But then again, you could say, oh, you're on here shoving Christianity, but I'm not like proclaiming that we should preach from the White House. I don't really know. I don't think church and state should be separated. It's ultimately God's kingdom. It's his, so he should be king. But I don't know. I think until we give credit where credit is due and give our country back to God, who gave it to us, and say, look, we've tried everything else. We've tried literally everything, including cutting your 10 Commandments out of our courthouse and allowing the Satanic Temple to build Baphomet statues. We allowed all that. We tried it. And yet people are becoming more and more confused and lost. And guess what? I'm lost. I'm also lost. So my opinion, take it for what it is. I'm learning as well, but I do believe that I've found truth in the Holy Bible and in God, but do know that I'm also human and I err. So I'm not perfect and I'm not looking down on anyone. In fact, I want everyone to be happy and have a great afterlife and a great life even. So God bless. I hope America can pull out of this spiral. I think we need God to do it though.